I've just created this painting in my sketchbook, and I thought I would show you how I made it right from the beginning. So the first thing I'm doing is just covering the paper and just trying to build an interesting surface with texture and marks. So I just lay on paint that I've got left over on my palette. I'm really, it doesn't really concern me what colour, I'm just putting down paint. I'm using the colour shaper to do this because I find that it spreads the paint nice and smoothly and just is a very quick way of covering a lot of ground. Now I'm putting in some acrylic ink and just spreading that around with the colour shaper as well. This gives a nice transparency over the top and just adds to the richness of the colour. If you like some of these mark making and painting ideas, then I have a free download which there will be a link to in the notes underneath this video, and it's available for you to download, and there's a ton of different ideas in there, a lot of which are demonstrated in my videos. Spreading this all over the surface, well, not all over, but a lot. I am going to cover a lot of it, and then with the colour shaper I'm scraping back to make some of it quite thin, and then I'm splashing on some water and then scraping again to remove the paint where the water has settled on the page, and that's a lovely way of getting these nice drippy sort of splashy marks. Now I'm coming in with a pencil and a stencil just to get some lines and just a repetition of shapes and curves and just that one shape sort of repeated over and over again. I like using line with shape, and so this is just the first set of lines coming in. Now, having been quite controlled with that previous line, now I'm coming in and being very uncontrolled, so just much looser use of the pencil. And now some paint with those stencils, just repeating those shapes again. And I'm putting the paint on quite loosely, and in some parts the paint's quite thin, so it's more like a glaze in a way, and it's just really just another way of creating marks. Now I'm being a little bit more careful and a bit more intentional with these sorts of marks and these lines, and just spreading this lovely goldy orangey colour into the composition. I'm taking colours that are underneath the light paint, so I'm using the same colours that I've already got, but I'm bringing them in over the top now. So I'm building those layers, overlapping, thick paint over thin paint, careful shapes over sort of accidental textural sort of marks, just so I can build up lots of contrasts and differences in the page. So having put in some light shapes, now I'm going to come in with some dark shapes, and I'm thinking now about where I place those, because these are going to be quite dominant in this composition because I'm setting up dark against light, and when I do that I'm starting to really establish a design for this painting. And once again I'm trying to vary the application so that in some parts the dark is thick, other parts it's quite thin, and allowing for those sort of accidental marks to happen. And you can see the build up of layers here. I've got line, I've got different types of line made with different pencils. I've got really loose mark making with the paint, as well as sort of structured shapes, so lots of contrasts there. And now coming in with some more line. And now I'm going to introduce another colour, and this is a sort of a warm alizarin crimson colour, just spreading that quite loosely into this area, just to make that area a little bit deeper, and that dark shape a little bit different from the other dark shapes, and linking that colour to the left hand side of the composition as well. And now with the light paint, I'm now editing. I'm taking away things that I don't need. I'm looking at the design and looking at how I can lead the eye around and have big shapes and little shapes, and bring this whole composition together. And I like writing words into my paintings as well, so with a white pencil, white on pale blue, so it's only evident when you come in close, I'm adding some little details with the pencils here. And just building up those layers of loose paint, loose pencil work, as well as sort of structured shapes and more controlled mark making. And so there's the end of the final composition.